6:43. Welcome back to Breakfast Television. Live shot from the Century Plaza Hotel and Spa on Burrard Street. Let's get the 101 on mentorship. Joining us this morning on the blue couch right here at BT, Paulina Cameron. She is a best-selling author, and you are going to be heading up to Whistler for the W North Conference this weekend. We'll learn more about that in a second. And your book, Canada 150 Women. Let's start with kind of the basics, Paulina, of mentorship. What's the difference between a mentor, a sponsor, a coach? Are they all the same thing?
I love that question. The answer is no, and they're all super valuable. So a mentor is someone that you're going to sit down with, have coffee, and they're going to ask you some questions. You're going to get some feedback and kind of have a back and forth. A coach, usually people engage on a business or life coach and really want to see a significant change or difference, and they're kind of going through a significant period in their life. Now, sponsor is probably the most different of all of it. It's someone who's actually going to talk about you behind your back, but in a good way. So they're the person, they're the person that's going to advocate for you and say, hey, you know, I'm in this meeting, you're not there, but I heard someone that had a problem or an opportunity. I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to say, hey, did you consider Sarah for this opportunity? I think she would be really great. They kind of vouch for you and put themselves out there on your behalf and help you move along further thanks to that.
So everything you just said, all of those categories, mentorship included, it sounds like a real relationship. So what's the difference between, or let's say, what are the best qualities in a mentor and a mentee?
Yeah, well, firstly, what's really important is that the relationship works. And for the relationship to work, you have to have a level of trust. To have that, you know, honesty is really important, but also being really transparent. So you can't have that kind of depth without that. A good mentor is really someone who is going to ask questions and not assume that their opinion or their answer is necessarily the best one. They're kind of detached from it. They're like, hey, I have some advice for you, but take it or leave it. It's here. I'm offering it. One of the things we see mentees that do,
I know, I was going to say, I asked you before we came on live because I wasn't sure if that was even a real word. Mentee.
Manatee. So someone that is a great mentee, someone who's going to prepare ahead of time and really come to it with, here's what would be really helpful, but also loops back. So I do a lot of mentorship, and I so appreciate when someone comes back to me and says, hey, that advice, you know, I didn't take it, but here's what I did, or I did take it and here's how it was helpful.
That sounds like a really nice way to kind of back out of a mentorship relationship that's not working. Here's what's worked, here's what didn't. I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you never. Yeah,
that's for sure. Okay, let's talk about workplace mentorship. Let's say I am a woman looking for mentorship. How important is it that I get a female mentor, or is it important at all?
Yeah, great question. So it really depends what industry you're in and what you need from that mentorship relationship. I like to say that having both a male and female mentor is actually what's going to be most helpful. From a female mentor, you might be in a relationship that you find also complements personal and professional, so it can kind of blend those two together. We like to hear stories from people who are like us, right? And so that kind of builds on that relationship. If you're in an industry that's really male-dominated, having a male mentor will be really helpful for you because you'll get to see it from a perspective that is not your own lived experience, and you actually get their insight.
So I mentioned at the top of our chat here that you are a best-selling author from the North Shore. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you tell everyone about your book? It is about Canadian women, and maybe the biggest lessons you learned from these women.
So it's interviews with 150 incredible women from across Canada. Some of them have significant firsts. So we have women like Kim Campbell or Julie Payette, or the first woman to command a Canadian Army Navy ship. And we have women who've done really significant work in their communities, like, for example, Janet Austin from the YWCA of Vancouver, our new incoming Lieutenant Governor in BC. And the whole book is interview style, so it's really stories, it's really personable, and the vision for it was to bring more light and shine more light on stories of incredible women in Canada, and to also showcase that there are incredible leaders and incredible women in Canada that are doing amazing work. So two things that really stood out for me, and one really ties into mentorship, is how much these women talked about how important relationships have been in their lives. Often the opportunities they have gotten were because of their connections or the network that they have, which I think is really interesting when we think about it in light of, you know, conversation of robots taking over, is what that will look like in the future of work and how important relationships will continue being.
And I know your second one we have to wrap up really quick was how disappointed women that were 50 plus were with how far women have come in the workplace. So we've got some work to do.
Totally.
All the best this weekend, speaking at W North Conference about mentorship and women in particular. And thanks for joining us on Breakfast Television.
Thank you.
Breakfast Television continuing after this.